Hello everyone, my name is Peppo and I'm a Monster Hunter player. I recently played Dragon's Dogma 2, the new action RPG for single player developed and published by Capcom, the same company of the Monster Hunter series. It is the sequel of Dragon's Dogma, which was released 12 years ago, in 2012, and it's available for new-gen consoles and PC. Before starting, I have to say I never played the first title, so I knew nothing about the series. Everything was completely new for me, including the story, the setting and of course the gameplay, so I didn't really know what to expect. To give you a rough idea about what this game is about, put it simply, you take on the role of a character called the Ryzen, who is basically the hero of the story. You have to complete quests, fight enemies and explore this open world map. Pretty simple and straightforward, right? Well, not exactly. I actually struggled quite a bit at the beginning. The game does look simple, but it's definitely not, at least not when you played the first 20 hours. Like Monster Hunter, there are some aspects of Dragon's Dogma 2 that the game doesn't fully explain, but you get to know little by little. Probably if you have played the first title, it should be easier to understand specific mechanics, but that wasn't the case for me. As I said, I started this new adventure completely blind. The first shock I had was the quest system. There is no quest counter or handler who gives you the quest, but you accept them by talking to the NPCs scattered in different villages and towns. There are main quests, which are necessary for progressing to the story, and side quests which can be completely ignored if you want, but they give you gold and experience points, and few of them even some interesting rewards. However, the great majority of side quests are skippable. Most of them only give you money and the XP, so you are not missing much. Many of these quests just consist of investigating a certain matter, collecting items and reporting back. There is no fighting. It's more for completionists or people who are really into the story of the game. I have to be honest, it would have been more engaging if you got some unique rewards for this type of quest, while giving you just gold and the XP doesn't make this quest worth completing, in my opinion. Another issue I personally have with side quests is that after you reach a certain point in the story, some side quests can't be completed anymore, and combining that with a single save slot, it makes it a bit annoying. In fact, you cannot start another game with another character, but you are forced to delete all your progression and overwrite a new character if you want to start over. I believe they should have let you have multiple save slots instead. Another important difference with Monster Hunter and what makes the gameplay unique are the pawns. AI-controlled characters who assist the Ryzen during fights, but can also help while exploring and with quest objectives. You can have up to 3 pawns, with the first one being your main pawn, that is created by you, and the other 2 pawns are main pawns of other players, which means you cannot customize them. Pawns reminded me of the followers from the Monster Hunter Rise soundtrack, although they are an improved version of that. Other than supporting and fighting alongside the Ryzen, they can gather materials, give you hints about quest objectives, help you during the exploration, and even combine items in your pouch. They are well implemented in both the story and the gameplay. However, sometimes the AI doesn't work that great. They can get stuck without knowing how to free themselves in a specific circumstance. Sometimes they don't follow the Ryzen's indications, for example while exploring a certain place, and they tend to say always the same thing over and over, which makes them boring after a while.
We're in your hands, sir. Much obliged.
What makes this game quite different from Monster Hunter is definitely the exploration. You are free to roam around in this immense open world map, which is divided into 2 big kingdoms, Vermund and Batal. In the former there are many woods and forests, while the latter gives you the vibes from the Grand Canyon. Both areas overlook the sea that surrounds all the map. What's more, the whole map is full of dark caverns, also known as dungeons, which makes the exploration more captivating and interesting. Concerning the gathering aspect of the game, it is really similar to Monster Hunter. You can mine ores, gather herbs and other fruits, and also pick up monster materials from bone piles. The only big difference are chest boxes. These are scattering on the map, and inside them you can find pretty much all kinds of items, including gold, armor and weapons. On top of that, the map is full of hidden tokens, known as Seeker's tokens, which remind of the relic records from Monster Hunter Rise, but most of them are incredibly hard to spot, and there are 240 of these. Gathering them can have its value as it unlocks some item, armor and weapon. However, once you reach the endgame, most of these stuff are not that special anymore. I collected 220 of them, and I regret it now. That wasn't worth the trouble. And that's something related more generally to the whole exploration of this game. Scouting every corner of the map is most of the time not worth it, unfortunately. Almost every time you just get common items from both gathering spots and treasure chests, Even if you get some armor or weapon, they are 99% weaker than what you can buy at the armor and weapon shop. In a few words, the exploration doesn't feel very rewarding, at least not as much as I'd like it to be, considering it's one of the most important aspects of the game. Let's talk now about the weapons and gear. In Dragon's Dogma 2 there are unique classes called Vocations, and each vocation has 9 levels. The higher the level, the more weapon skills and augments you will unlock. Weapon skills are unique to each vocation, except Warfare, which can use all the skills, but not the Maester skills, which are unlocked via certain side quests and are by far stronger than the regular weapon skills. The vocation is also directly linked to the weapon type, which means, for example, if you choose the Thief vocation, you will fight using daggers, something similar to the dual blades of Monster Hunter. An exception is the Warfare vocation, that can use all the weapons and armor from all the other vocations. The armor is divided into 3 pieces: the helm, the legs, and the piece that covers the chest and arms. Some armor can be equipped by different vocations, while others are just unique to a specific one. On top of that, there is a slot for the mantle, and more importantly, 2 slots for the rings, which give you valuable skills. The armor, weapons, mantles and rings can be purchased using only gold, but you need monsters' materials to upgrade them. I took my time and leveled up all 10 vocations, testing all the weapons to get a rough idea about them, but primarily to unlock all the augments for each vocation. And in fact, what I really liked about the vocation system are these augments that can be equipped on any vocation you choose. Once unlocked, you can use that augment for any vocation, giving you some freedom and customization depending on your fighting style. Augments are basically the skills from Monster Hunter, but instead of getting them through the armor pieces, you just choose which one to use for a max of 6 skills. Based on my 200 hours of playtime, I consider the Thief and the Magic Archer the strongest vocation at the time of making this video. The daggers feel really satisfying, and using the proper skills they can become extremely powerful, especially against large monsters, the so-called bosses. What's more, the Maester skill for the Thief vocation makes you completely invincible, which is just broken in my opinion. The Magic Bow on the other hand is extremely comfy and simple to use. It's by far the best weapon to slay minions, which are really frequent to encounter, and it has an insanely high damage output even on bosses. If the story and the exploration are important aspects of this game, the same applies to the fighting. As a Monster Hunter player, I had high expectations regarding the combat system. I have to say, clinging on monsters is a cool feature that reminded me of the clutch glove, but better since there is no tenderizing mechanic. Instead, you can stab and draw the weapon while clinging, and this makes the fight quite distinctive. Of course, you need to be careful while grabbing onto the monster as it can dismantle you, but it's definitely not too risky, and generally you have plenty of time to attack while clinging. What's more, pawns can be quite helpful during the fight. A mage is essential, as it can heal and give support to the rest of the party, while the other 2 pawns can be pretty much whatever you want. I personally like having 2 thieves, but also sorcerers are quite strong. However, other than what I just mentioned, I wasn't too much impressed with the gameplay, to be honest. After I played a while, I got the feeling the fight was a bit repetitive and simple. Weapon attacks feel too basic, you only have a light and a heavy attack. Thankfully, the weapon skills help a lot in this regard, expanding the moveset and making the weapon feel more unique and engaging. But I have to say I expected a larger variety of weapon combos without relying solely on the weapon skills. My Monster Hunter experience definitely made me have high expectations, maybe too much. Concerning the enemies, the map is full of minions, and they can get quite aggressive if you are not careful. I know it may sound weird, but I actually have a harder time dealing with some minions than fighting bosses. They can easily combo you without giving you the opportunity to strike back. When that happens, it's really frustrating, I have to admit. On the other hand, I find bosses less troublesome to deal with, mainly because their attacks are relatively easy to read and they don't have many attacks and combos. That's why the fights with bosses are not very exciting in my opinion. They tend to strike with the same attacks, resulting in a lack of complexity. I would have liked to have a more challenging and engaging fight with bosses. Additionally, large enemies are not that frequent to spot, especially certain bosses. This makes the farming slow, and even annoying as you waste quite some time just to find and reach the monster you need. Keep in mind that quests can only be completed once, and bosses don't spawn frequently. Increasing the spawn rate would definitely help. Hopefully Capcom will consider doing that in the next updates. The only available way to accelerate the spawn of bosses is to skip in-game time by sitting down at benches and using the doze off function. Every 4 times you do that, 1 day passes. Alternatively, you can rest in inns in towns or in your tent at the campfire to skip one day or less depending if you choose to sleep until night or morning. And this feature of the day-night shift is another great addition the way I see it. During the day everything is bright and certain monsters spawn, during the night everything is dark and you can't see much in the distance, and other types of monsters will spawn, like zombies, skeletons and ghosts. If you forget your lantern oil at night, you are going to see almost nothing, and even with the lantern, you are not going to be at ease roaming around with a feeble light. When you are playing an open world game, everybody knows that fast travel must be a critical mechanic. It would be impossible to go from one side of the map to another by just running all the way along. The first time would be acceptable, but after it would just be boring. For this reason, Dragon's Dogma 2 does have a fast travel option, but the way they handle this essential mechanic is a bit controversial and didn't convince the majority of players, including myself. As you can see from the map, there are many towns and villages, but you can fast travel only between 4 of them, by using an ox cart. Let's say you are here and you want to go all the way down to the city, well, you need to take 4 ox carts to arrive there. And every time you board an ox cart, there is a big chance that monsters will attack you during the trip, slowing the whole process. Not only that, it's also possible that the enemies will break the ox cart during the ambush, which means you will have to continue your journey by foot. And that's not fun, especially after you already did that several times. So basically the fast travel option is an ox cart, which can be taken only in 4 towns and can bring you only to other 3 specific locations. There's a big chance that you will get attacked while traveling, and the ox cart could even break. But don't be desperate, there is a second fast travel option. There's an item called Fairy Stone, a magic stone that can teleport you to any place. It would work perfectly if it was that simple, but unfortunately it's not. Not only fairy stones aren't easy to obtain, but you can only teleport where a port crystal is located. And guess what? There are only 2 port crystals in the whole map. Of course, if they kept it like that, it would have been a disaster, so they added an item which can be carried and placed anywhere. A portable port crystal. But again, guess what? This item is even harder to get than the fairy stone. So let me summarize it. You first have to obtain this portable port crystal. Then you have to go to the location you want to fast travel to, place this crystal, and only then you can teleport there using the fairy stone. I'm not sure I expressed that clearly, but just in case, no, I'm not a fan of this way of fast traveling. And finally, let's talk about the endgame of Dragon's Dogma 2. If you don't want to be spoiled, please don't watch any further, as I'm about to show you what happens after you finish all the main quests of the story. After fighting the big dragon, you find yourself in this gloomy setting. The world in fact is slowly coming to an end. It is called the Unmoored World, and there is no coming back from this. New special enemies will reveal themselves, a new powerful version of a dragon and a gigantic snake. Needless to say, these bosses are considerably stronger than any previous foes you faced, and I was really excited to fight them. However, there's a little issue. These special bosses don't respawn. You can kill them only twice, and that's it. They don't drop unique materials, so farming is not an issue, but it feels like a wasted opportunity to me. The fight is the most entertaining, the most engaging and challenging, and you let me fight him only twice. I can't help but feel a bit sad. Anyway, while in this unmoored world, fairy stones are dropped like candy, so fast traveling is not a problem here, as long as you already placed the portable port crystal. Bosses are a bit more frequent to encounter, but unfortunately they can't respawn. You can find new special armors in the chest boxes, and I appreciate that. But most of the time, the armor you find is not stronger than what you can get from the shop, which doesn't make much sense to me. Apart from that, you don't get any new weapons and any new skills. In the Unmoored World, day and night don't shift anymore. Both day and night enemies will spawn at the same time from now on. The only way to make time pass is by resting at inns or at home, and you can only do that 12 times. After that, if you haven't still beaten the special bosses, you will have to restart from day 1 on the Unmoored World, and try again. In case you succeed, the story will end, and the world will rewind as it was originally, letting you repeat the story, keeping all the progress you made, including all the items and equipment, basically what is called New Game Plus. Dragon's Dogma 2's endgame is considerably different from any Monster Hunter game. You don't farm monsters, but you rather try to obtain unique armor pieces from chest boxes, and try to get as many Worm's Life Crystals as you can get. They can be obtained from draconic creatures like drakes and dragons, but here in the Unmoored World, You can get a ton of them by slaying those 2 special bosses I previously mentioned. This crystallized blood is used to further enhance your equipment after regular upgrade, a sort of augmentation. It is extremely useful as it's the only method to decrease the weight of your gear, and weight in this game affects your movement speed, so the lighter you are, the faster and more agile you will be. This is another distinctive aspect that I appreciated a lot. Lastly, I have to confess I'm a bit disappointed in regard to the weapons variety for each vocation. In this game there are only 4 elements: ice, thunder, fire and holy. The issue is that you only have 1 weapon type for each element, and half of them are considerably weaker than the others, as you unlock or find them already early in the game. Even after fully enhancing all the weapons, the difference remains, so at the end you will find yourself only using 1 or 2 weapons, and all the rest of the weapons become pretty much useless. I only use holy and ice element with dual blades, while with magic bow I just use this one as it is the strongest one among all of them. I would have liked more variety in this regard, and the same applies to the armor, as you will end up using the same one. As I said, armors don't give you skills like in Monster Hunter, but only defensive buffs, like elemental and knockback resistance, which means you will always pick up the one with the highest values, and stick to that. There is really no need to switch armor, and maybe that is why there are no loadouts to be saved. Overall, I must admit that I had quite the fun playing this game, especially the first 100 hours. Getting to know all the new mechanics, getting used to the controls and new actions, exploring a completely new world, and fighting singular beasts was entertaining. Although the game definitely has some drawbacks, as I already mentioned, it is true the great majority of them are not severe and won't stop you from enjoying the game. Some are just bad design choices in my opinion, like the fast travel mechanic and the single save slot. Others could have been improved with a little more effort, like the monsters and pawns AI and the weapons variety, especially in the endgame. At the end of the day though, I spent more than 200 hours playing the game, which means in my opinion it's a game worth being considered despite not being perfect. This was my personal and honest review about Dragon's Dogma 2, the new action RPG developed and published by Capcom on March the 22nd. Please feel free to let me know what you think about the game in the comment section. I wish you a great day, take care and see you in the next video.